Hello, and welcome to the Lanterna Knowledge Network, where we celebrate all things wine, spirits, and gourmet, while educating each other at the same time. Lanterna has decided to introduce a knowledge network as a multifaceted approach to generate knowledge and skills for our team, our clients, and those in the industry. My name is Matthew Daniels. I will be your host of wines from the Northern Rhone Valley. Let's talk a little bit about the history. The first cultivated vines in the region were probably planted around 600 BC. The origins of the two most important grape varieties in the Northern Rhone, Syrah and Viognier, are subject to some speculation. Some say the Greeks were responsible for bringing Syrah grape from the Persian city of Shiraz. Others say it came 50 years later when the Greeks fled from the Persian king Cyrus I. Yet others speculate it came from the Sicilian city of Syracuse in circa 280 AD, when the Romans brought it with the Viognier grape. Meanwhile, extensive DNA typing and viticulture research has led scientists to conclude that Syrah originated in the Rhone Valley itself. A little bit about the climate of the Northern Rhone. The Northern Rhone is characterized by a continental climate with harsh winters but warm summers. The climate is influenced by a mistral wind, which brings very cool and colder air to the Northern Rhone. It's therefore substantially cooler than the Southern Rhone, which means different varieties and different wine styles are going to be produced there. Syrah is the only red grape permitted to be grown in the Northern Rhone. The white varieties are Viognier, Marsanne, and Roussanne. For wines bearing the Cornas AOC, the red wines are made from 100% Syrah. Whereas other red varietals or regions in the Northern Rhone can be blended with white wine grapes, either Viognier, Marsanne, or Roussanne, depending on the appellation. However, while this is allowed by AOC rules, blending with white grapes is mostly practiced in Côte Rôtie. Viognier by itself is used for white wines from Condrieu or Chateau Gruyère. Marsanne and Roussanne are in turn for white wines from Crozes Hermitage, Saint Joseph, and Saint Péray. Let's talk about the size of the Northern Rhone. And the best way to do it is in comparison to the Southern Rhone. The Northern Rhone is a mere 2,836 hectares. The entire Northern Rhone is smaller than Châteauneuf-du-Pape in the Southern Rhone. To put this in a little bit more perspective, 95% of all of the wines made in the Rhone Valley come from the Southern Rhone, which means a mere 5% come from the Northern Rhone Valley. Let's really quickly touch on the appellations in the Northern Rhone. You have from north to south, Côte Rôtie, AOC, red wines, Syrah, can be blended with up to 20% Viognier. Condrieu, AOC, 100% Viognier. Chateau Gruyère, AOC, 100% Viognier. Saint Joseph, AOC, red wines, Syrah can be blended with up to 10% Marsanne Roussanne. The white wines are made from Marsanne Roussanne. Crozes Hermitage, AOC, red wines, Syrah, blended with up to 15% Marsanne Roussanne. The whites are made exclusively from Marsanne and Roussanne. Hermitage, AOC, one of the most famous hills in the world of wine. The red wines are Syrah, blended with up to 15% Marsanne and Roussanne. The whites must be made from Marsanne and Roussanne. Cornas AOC, as we touched on earlier, are made from 100% Syrah only. Saint Péray AOC, sparkling and still wines made from Marsanne and Roussanne. You have both larger producers in the Northern Rhone, Guigal, Jabelet, Vidal Fleury, and smaller domains such as Nicolas Saint-Jean and Domaine Guy Bernard. Now we're going to go to our special guest, Dan Senecal, who's going to give you in-depth knowledge of Domaine Guy Bernard and Nicolas Saint-Jean. Thank you so much.
Hey, what is up, everybody? My name is Dan Senecal. I'm part of the management team here at Lanterna. Thank you for joining us on the Lanterna Knowledge Network. And Matt, thank you for that introduction. You're too kind, sir. Much appreciated. I am really excited to be talking about a pair of our beautiful family producers from the Northern Rhone region of France, Domaine Guy Bernard in Côte-Rôtie, and Domaine Michelas Saint-Gemme in Crozes-Hermitage. As Matt has certainly alluded, this region is famous for some of its larger producers. Guigal, Chapoutier, and Jaboulet. These are producers that have major land holdings themselves, but then they also purchase fruit from a lot of different farmers and vineyards across the region. What we have with Domaine Guy Bernard and Domaine Michelas Saint-Gemme are two producers that are family owned, independently run and cared for, and they really only work with their own fruit. They are managing their own vineyards and making wine specifically from what their domain produces. So a little bit unique in this region and really, really cool to discuss. So with that, we're going to start at the northern end of the Northern Rhone region in the area of Côte-Rôtie, the AOC of Côte-Rôtie. This is a domain that is located just south of the town of Ampuy known for its Condrieu production. But the actual south side of Ampuy has a small town or a small subsector known as Toupin et Semon. And this is where you'll find Domaine Guy Bernard. So they call this a southern sector producer because it's on the south side of the town of Ampuy. Domaine Guy Bernard is family owned, has been for generations. In fact, we don't know exactly how many generations it dates back to. That's how long this winery has been owned and operated by the same family independently. Excuse me. They do have a small land holding of about 4.6 hectare. So that's about 11 acres, give or take, maybe a touch more than 11 acres, but this is spread out across 13 different plots. So you've got 4.6 hectare total spread out across 13 little sub vineyards all across the region, which is pretty cool. And this is important for a variety of reasons. We're going to talk about and taste today their bottling Domaine Guy Bernard, Côte-Rôtie, Coteaux de Bassignon. So they do make a Condrieu. They make one white wine bottled as a Condrieu, which is 100% Viognier. Then they make a variety of 3 or 4, depending on the year, 3 or 4 different bottlings of Syrah. They have the Côte Roger and they have the Coteaux de Bassignon, which we are going to talk about today. Again, these wines are 100% Syrah and some of the most ethereal and expressive forms of Syrah that you'll find across the entire world. So really excited to dig into these. What we are going to do first is talk a little bit about the wine itself. We're going to take a look at it, get a good look at the coloration here. We'll see if you can get a little bit of a look at this, but the Syrah is very, very deep, very dark, very dense. It has a beautiful perfume to it. One of the things that is certainly well known about Côte-Rôtie is that there, on occasion, will be a co-fermentation of the Syrah with a small percentage of Viognier, and that absolutely does take place in most years with the Coteaux de Bassignon. It's normally going to be a small percentage of Viognier that is co-fermented in, somewhere between 2 and 5%. They rarely go above 5%. But what that does, even that small percentage of 2 to 5%, gives it this really beautiful aromatic lift. Brings some added layers and complexity to the aroma, and also adds a little bit of texture on the palate. So, with that, let's talk about the nose a little bit. These wines are really just enchanting. They're layered. These are wines that are very contemplative. You can spend lots and lots of time sort of dissecting them, and they evolve glass after glass after glass throughout the course of an evening over a bottle. So I did want to show really quickly before we taste a couple of rocks here. There are 2 prominent hillsides in this area. I ducked down there, so there we go. 2 prominent hillsides, the Côte Brune and the Côte Blonde, the brunette and the blonde. Cool story about how these became named. There's a legend about a nobleman who had 2 daughters. It's pretty fun. You should check it out. But as you can see here with the Côte Blonde, you've got a little bit more of a pale granite, a schist, and even a little bit of sand in this soil makeup. And with the Côte Brune, you've got this iron-rich sort of stone makeup with a little bit of schist as well. And these two soil makeups give distinctively different qualities to the wine. So Having had the opportunity to visit Domaine Guy Bernard, I can say that they are a splendid family. Frederick is the current winemaker, and when he was touring us through the barrel room, which I'll try to show you a picture of here right now, his young son, who's only, I think, 4 years old at the time, was dancing around the barrel. So they are already cultivating the next generation of family winemaker here at Domaine Guy Bernard. So definitely worth checking out. These are beautiful wines. They're very, very small production and very special. Cheers to you. I'll tell you a little bit about Domaine Michelin Saint-Gemme. So here we're moving south. We're moving south close to the hill of Hermitage, the famous hill of Hermitage. And there's a few prominent towns in and around this area. Tournon-sur-Rhone and Tain-l'Hermitage almost mirror each other on opposite sides of the Rhone. And just off of Tain-l'Hermitage is a town called Mercurol. There's a few other interesting towns in and around that area that have some great producers, but we're going to focus in primarily on this town of Mercurol and some of the surrounding area. So Domaine Michelin Saint-Gemme, this was actually founded in the early 1960s by Robert and Yvette Michelin. So I'm going to try to show you a picture of an old bottle out of the cellar that shows the original label for Robert Michelin's wines. It was not until 1982 that this producer really sort of made a name for himself by having the opportunity to purchase a really, really small land holding, only about 0.3 hectare, teeny tiny little plot of land on the hill of Hermitage. So this automatically gave him some prestige. Not everyone has this opportunity to make an Hermitage wine. In fact, very few do, especially from an independent producer perspective. So Robert had the opportunity to purchase a small plot on Hermitage, and this really gave some notability to the house of Michelin Saint-Gemme. In '88, Robert Michelin handed over control of the winery to his 4 children, Sylvie, Florence, Corinne, and Sebastian. They loved their family, they loved the land, and they wanted to see the continuation of excellence happening here at the Domaine. So they took over, and they are in fact now perhaps the only winery in all of the Creuse-Hermitage, Northern Rhone region that has land holdings in Hermitage, Creuse-Hermitage, Saint-Joseph, and Cornas. They've got land holdings in 4 of these major key AOCs within the Northern Rhone, and they're making individual bottlings from each. Not many, perhaps not any, aside from them are doing this currently. So a really cool little bit of trivia about the Michelin Saint-Gemme wines. In 2002, they elevated yet again. They created a line called Terre d'Ars, which really is only made in the best years, showcasing the best plots, really gave them kind of a reserve level production. And these are some of the finest wines in the entire world. I highly recommend you seek them out. We just happen to have a selection here at Lanterna, so give us a call. We will get you set up with that. And then finally in 2014, they received their HVE certification, which is a high environmental value certification. I'm going to go ahead and smell and taste this wine, which is the Michelin Saint-Gemme Creuse-Hermitage La Chasselier. La Chasselier means the hunter. This is actually a blend of 4 different vineyard sites that all have individual characteristics in different areas of Creuse-Hermitage. So in the south, they've got Pont de l'Isère, which is a little bit more clay and limestone soils with large pebbles that have been deposited there by the Rhone River over millennia. This really gives it sort of its herbaceous and licorice-like character. In the central, there is the town of Mercurol, and the vineyards around this area are on the Chassis Plateau. And here, these are smaller pebbles, still more clay and limestone soil makeup, but smaller pebbles. And finally, in the north, we've got the town of Larnage. And this is a little bit more gravel and granite, and it also has a vein of a really interesting soil type called kaolin in there as well. And this is a white clay with silica. So they will micro-vinify plots from these 4 regions and create a final blend that will go into the bottle La Chasselier. This will be, of course, vinified in stainless steel conical vats, as well as oak, And again, those two will be blended together. Those two vinifications will be blended together at the end to create the final bottling. My goodness, that's another wine that could lay down and age for a long time, or you might want to do what I did, which is just pop it a good hour and a half beforehand. Let it breathe, let it soften, and it'll be ready for you at dinner time. Thank you guys again so much for joining me. Really hope you enjoyed this. I'm going to kick it back to Matt for the rest of the Northern Rhone.
Thank you for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed what you experienced. Thus, please share this link and tag us on your Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and LinkedIn. Please follow our Facebook and Instagram pages for updates. Feel free to send us feedback or share some ideas to LKN@lanternawines.com.